Welcome back. As you know, I'm Eli the Computer Guy here for the Daily Blob to remind you that when we're talking about lived experiences, everybody takes away their own learned lessons and opinions from those experiences, right? You can have 10 people that essentially go through the exact same event, and you will have 10 different opinions about the event, and you will have 10 people whose lives will fundamentally change from that day, but they'll change in different ways, right? So we have the T app out there, right? And the T app was apparently created by this guy, and his mom went out into the dating scene when she was like in her 50s. His father died or left or something like that. His mom had to go back out into the dating scene, and she was just getting screwed with, right? Catfishing and bad dates and all kinds of weird stuff. And now there's a lot of people out there where if their mom went out onto the dating scene and had some issues, they would try to figure out a good solution to try to solve that problem. But not this CEO, not this tech bro. He saw how easy it was to screw with his mama, and he went, wow, I should do something with that. What if, just wait for me here. What if we, like, instead of screwed with one mom, what if we hyper-scaled that and tried to screw with as many women as possible? And apparently, that was the point that the T app was created. This thing is a disaster. This thing is a disaster. This is why you should, wait for it, hire real technology professionals. Technology professionals that understand things like privileges and rules and firewalls and data stores and databases and front end and back end and sanitization and all that kind of stuff. Imagine if this wannabe tech bro white knight piece of crap actually understood how to design a platform. So anyways, there's this T app out there, and the idea with the T app, right? The idea that we were told is that this guy saw his mama getting screwed over, and so he created this app so women could come together and they could talk about men in the dating scene, right? They could upload pictures and see if they're catfishing pictures, if other people have seen the same picture with like different dating profiles, that type of thing. If they're dating somebody, ask if there are any red flags or green flags, right? That kind of thing. And it's amazing with the app, you know, cheating husbands were found, people that were engaged with other folks were found, and that type of deal. And the idea was women could come together with kind of an open source intelligence, right? When I talk about the modern world and I talk about things like intelligence operations, it becomes interesting to think about, like, what does an intelligence operation look like when you can democratize it and when the cost of delivering the finished product is pretty low? In what ways can you have intelligence services or intelligence operations? And so anyways, this makes a lot of sense. Look, I'm a white guy. And I'll just put it on the table. There's a reason that women are concerned. I know a lot of women when I was younger that were raped. I know women that were roofied and raped. I had a very good friend of mine. She went out with people she thought were her friends. They literally drugged her and then literally raped her with the blade of a knife. She went through years of reconstructive surgery just because some folks thought it would be funny to drug this girl and shove a knife. Right? And that's the reality, right? If you are one of these beta cuck pieces of crap that does not understand why women are concerned, I don't know what the hell to tell you. I talked about the T app before, and I had a lot of comments down in the bottom, and they were horrible comments. I mean, thank you for the interaction. They were interactions, but holy hell, they were just such awful comments talking about women. And it's like, yeah, maybe if you go out and you actually have a conversation with women and talk about things like sexual violence in modern society, maybe you would understand what the hell's going on and not cry and bitch and moan and blow fucking snot bubbles like your forefathers would have. But anyways, I think about this, you know, in the Me Too movement, when the whole Me Too movement was going through, I had some not even conversations, I had some hard times listening to my wife talk about the whole sexualization and that type of thing. And it is brutal in our society. It is brutal in our society. And so having a place, a safe space for women to try to come together, to try to find ways that they can protect themselves from real and actual threats, you know, that makes sense. The pitch for this app makes sense. Too bad it has a piece of shit founder that apparently doesn't know a goddamn thing about security. So I talked about this before, and I lost my mind before, because I was talking about the 70,000 images that were hacked and released. So the idea with this T app is to make sure that you're not getting boys on the site trolling the site or whatever else, is that women had to take their pictures, and they had to take pictures of actual government IDs so that the site, they were told, could verify basically that they were actually a woman and who they were said they were. And they were told, they were informed by the piece of crap garbage that should go to jail for gross negligence that their images would be deleted after the verification process had gone through. Apparently they didn't do that. So there are images that appears to have been there for a long time, well after they should have been deleted. Those were compromised and those went out on the internet. And so that's bad. That's bad. The founder of T-App should definitely go to jail for that level of gross negligence. But it gets worse. It gets worse. T-App turns off DMs after exposing messages about abortions and cheating. So there's also direct messages on this particular app. So women could talk back and forth when they found out that they were dating somebody else's husband or whatever else. They could communicate back and forth. They thought it was private because they were stupid enough to believe a man with a fucking sob story, right? 1.7 million women apparently downloaded and installed this app, and they were all stupid enough to trust this piece of crap. So we go here. This is 404 Media. T, the viral women's dating safety app, has turned off direct messages after 404 Media revealed that a vulnerability allowed unauthorized parties to gain access to users' direct messages, including many in which women discussed their abortions, cheating partners, and phone numbers they sent to one another, right? So they thought this was private. This has all now been compromised. Karsa Rajirdi, the independent security researcher who first flagged the issue to 404 Media, shared a cache of more than 1 million T direct messages that 404 Media then verified. He said the security issue lasted until late last week. T announced late Monday it was turning off direct messages altogether. Quote, "Ladies of T," the message from T's Instagram account called The T Party Girl starts, quote, "We have an update regarding the cyber incident that took place last week and wanted to share it with you as soon as possible." And look at that. They're putting in a little purple heart emoji. Hey, there's a little problem, girlfriends. But we all love each other, don't we? Because again, this is how you treat women. When you violate women's trust by being a complete and utter dipshit, make sure to put that heart emoji on the end to make sure it's all good. Quote, "We have recently learned that some direct messages, when you say some is 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe a dozen. It's not 1 million. When you hear 1 million direct messages are compromised, does the word that comes to your mind some? No. Right? Because holy shit, can you imagine a weak, pathetic, sniveling piece of crap, tech bro, wannabe white knight can't actually stand in the light to admit the level of problems that his abject failure, his gross negligence has created. We have learned some direct messages were accessed as part of the initial incident. Oh, some. Out of an abundance of caution, we have taken the affected system offline. Abundance of caution. You have anything but a fucking abundance of caution. At this time, we have found no evidence of access to other parts of our environment. The statement continues. Okay, so they're able to compromise your image store and they're able to compromise your direct message database. What the fuck else is on your platform? They've been able to compromise everything other than your favorite list. Hey, your favorite list, that's still private. The direct messages obtained by 404 Media are incredibly sensitive in nature. Examples include a user discovering their husband being discussed on the app, right? Another shows a woman contacting others about a man she's engaged to, and many of the messages discuss abortions. The chats also frequently include damning accusations against people named in the chats. 404 Media found it was possible to very easily determine the real identities of many of the people sending the messages or being discussed. T recently topped the U.S. App Store. After that, members of the notorious troll forum 4chan found an exposed T database of user selfies and driver licenses and posted those photos online. A T spokesperson told 404 Media in an email on Tuesday, quote, "Our team remains fully engaged in strengthening the T app security." Oh, are you fully engaged with strengthening the fucking T app's security? Really? Are you sure? Because it doesn't fucking sound like you are. And we look forward to sharing more about those enhancements soon. In the meantime, we are working to identify any users whose personal information was involved and will be offering free identity protection services to those individuals. Are you going to be offering security services to these individuals? Think about this with these women that have had their information compromised. And this has been compromised on the internet. And it is curious with this T app. There's weird things on the internet that make people lose their mind. There's real things in the world that make people lose their minds. It's very weird. Like, I think about this with COVID, right? COVID, there was the vaccine identification cards, and the world lost their minds about these ideas of the vaccine passport. The vaccine passport is un-American, unhuman, whatever. They just scream to high hell. The weird part is, we instituted here in the United States this thing called Real ID identification, official identification. And so back in the day, if you had a driver's license or an official form of government ID, they didn't need a whole lot of information from you. All right, they needed your birth certificate and your basically, I think it was your social security card to quote unquote prove who you are, which is its own thing. But that was it. And then you go and you put your information into the government database, they take a picture, and you get your identification. What's curious nowadays is with these real IDs, they take a lot from you. Like you actually have to go, you have to have an appointment with the DMV or whoever else. You have to give them things like your lease or your mortgage. You have to give them utility bills to actually prove where you live. This is really giving the government just a tremendous amount of insight into every single American citizen that wants a real ID, and you need a real ID if you want to do something like fly on an airplane, right? And it's also being rolled out in other places. So one of the curious things, again, in our society and globally, is people lose their minds over vaccine passports. And then when I talk about real ID and real ID being a fundamental violation of our constitutional rights, people are like, like what? I do not understand human beings. But anyways, right, that's like one of the weird things. And so one of the things like with the T app, like I look at the T app and it may even be wrong-headed at the end of the day. At the end of the day, maybe it will be wrong-headed, but I completely understand why this would be seen as a possible solution, right? Women have real issues: getting roofied, getting drugged, getting raped, having all kinds of nasty, horrible things happen to women is just kind of part and parcel of American society. It is literally fucking god awful. Actually have a conversation with an actual woman, not be melodramatic or snarky or whatever else. Just have a nice, calm, not even a conversation. Just ask some questions and be willing to listen. And I can tell you, a lot of what will come out of that listening session will not be the happiest crap you will hear in your life, right? And so again, the T-app makes complete sense to me. But what I've seen in the comment stream, my interaction stream for my previous video talking about the T-app, and what you see a lot online is men are losing their minds. How dare you call out rapists? How dare you call out sexual predators? How dare you try to verify the guy you're trying to date might actually not be married to somebody else, right? Apparently, in the modern world, that is a bridge too far, right? Us sending, military and weapons to Israel, who the hell cares? T-app, now that's a real threat to our entire society. And so the thing to be thinking about here, right, with the T-app, right, and their pathetic response by a pathetic wannabe tech bro, white knight piece of crap, is to say, oh, your personal identifiable information has been released online. Well, we'll buy identity services, right? We'll buy, was it LifeLock? I don't know. We'll pay for LifeLock for you. We'll make sure people don't get your information and create credit cards. But one of the things you have to think about is the vitriol and the anger in our society towards women. It's real. I don't understand. But it's there. And so if you have these pictures that have been released, you have these direct messages that have been released. I've seen some of these reports talking about actual geolocation information may have been released. Remember, with IP addresses, just with an IP address, not with a GPS or anything else, there are publicly accessible databases that will show you approximate geographic locations of where an IP address is. So if you have somebody's picture, you have some of their other personal information, and you have an approximate geographic location of where they might be, it might be pretty easy to narrow that down to where that woman is. And so if you really want to be, a massive piece of shit, troll or whatever else with 4chan, tracking down women and actually harassing them and threatening them in the real world is a real possibility, right? So the founder, the creator of the T-app has failed so miserably at basic security when he deployed this app to try to make women feel safer. The reality is he's put all of these women in a hell of a lot more danger, but don't worry about him, right? Don't worry about him. He's going to pay for LifeLock for them, right? And this is where we get to the modern world of why I do not like my industry so much anymore. Hey, why don't we just stop fucking with women? Want to be nicer to black people? Stop fucking with women. Understand how infrastructure actually works. I feel like, in order to drive a car, you got to get a driver's license. Maybe in order to deploy an app that can get 1.7 million users, maybe you have to pass a class on fucking architecture design, right? But anyways, that's my opinion about the T-app. Go to jail. Go to jail. Do not pass go. Let this piece of shit rot in jail. Not forever. I don't think these tech bros should rot in jail forever. I think 2 years, though. I think 2 years. Make sure he goes to jail. Make sure he gets bent over in a jail cell and raped up the ass. Not a lot. Just, some. Just some. I just want him raped up the ass in a jail cell. Some. That's all I'm saying, right? Anyways, what do you think about this idiocy? What do you think about the continued implosion of the T-app? What do you think about the anger? It's weird. Oh, what do you think about this anger towards women that we have in our society at this point? What do you think about this? You know, somebody going out there and trying to build an app and do all this white knight stuff. I'm there to protect women, and then completely, utterly fail. Put your thoughts down below. Give us a thumbs up, give us a thumbs down. Say a good comment or say the comment you're gonna say. I've already seen the comments you're gonna say. It's not gonna be pretty. Anyways, you know, it's the modern world of social media. All the YouTube cares about is that it's an interaction. So put that stuff down below. Do remember that silicondojo.com exists. I'm still doing fireside chats there using Zoom. Next week, we are having the co-founder and CTO of an integrations company come on and talk about basically trying to integrate artificial intelligence into their systems. He's going to talk about how that actually worked out. Spoiler alert. Doesn't appear to go very well. So we're going to get a real CTO, a real professional, talk about integrating artificial intelligence into their systems. The week after that, we're going to have the VP for AI models for IBM on a Zoom conversation to talk about what IBM is doing with artificial intelligence and talk about models and all of that kind of stuff, a little bit more sophisticated, something beyond just the chat GPT prompt. So you can go to silicondojo.com to take a look at those and sign up for those sessions. You're able to ask questions during those sessions. And with that, see y'all later.